The Himalaya House Project grew out of an interesting event in my life, which was the Nepal earthquake of April the 25th, 2015. I was in my friend's house in Kathmandu at the time, and not realizing the scope of destruction until I spent the next 2 days walking in the city, it slowly dawned on me that this was an unbelievable tragedy. Over time, over the next few days and few weeks, as the tragedy unfolded even more, it became apparent that we had to do something to help. It turns out that Nepal lost about 500,000 homes, which is a huge percentage of its housing stock. Entire villages were flattened. The infrastructure in the country is poor to begin with. This was an absolutely devastating blow to the economy and to the mainstay, which is tourism. The Himalaya House Project grew when my friend, whose house I'd been staying in, told me that he and his colleague, a gentleman who's also in the trekking business, from a village called Buddha Singh in the mountains about 70 or 80 kilometers north of Kathmandu. He said that of the 907 homes in the village, not a single one was standing or habitable enough to be used by the villagers, which meant that 4 or 5 weeks from the monsoon, we're going to have a whole village with nowhere to live. We immediately came up with the idea of purchasing aluminum roofing material, which could be reused in some future date, but to build temporary shelters for the villagers of Buddha Singh. We contacted the village council, who were very supportive of our efforts and gave us an authority to go ahead and proceed. And we started building the first houses. These houses are simple structures. They do have doors, of course, and windows. There's a lot of debris left over from the collapsed village that can be reused. The frame is, of course, timbers that were in the earthquake. So all we had to supply was the roofing material and the nails. The villagers build the houses in 1 or 2 days. They build a simple structure for themselves, and then they build a separate structure for their animals and for food storage. Each cost about $200, which by anyone's standards is a pretty reasonable price to pay for a house. It will keep you dry in the upcoming monsoon, which lasts for about 4 months. So we've left it up to the villagers to design their own style of house, but we've given them a limited amount of material, and they've all come up with something that's pretty interesting, works for them and their family and their animals and their storage needs. The goal of the Himalaya House Project was to provide housing for destroyed villages. We started with this particular village because we had contacts there, but the goal is to make it grow. Over time, of course, the government and other organizations larger than ours will step in and provide more permanent housing or solutions to the village's immediate issues. But right now, we've decided to focus on simply building temporary structures that will last a year or two and can be reused. When we find there is no need for houses, there will be a need for schools, there will be a need for clinics, there will be a need for community facilities, there will be a need for transportation facilities. There's no shortage of things to build. This project has been received around the world with some timely and efficient help from my staff in Los Angeles and various friends. We managed to put together this whole charity in about a week and a half. Because it has a global reach, and because of various social media like Facebook and the internet, of course, in itself, we've managed to reach out all over the world, and we've had donations from about 12 different countries at the moment, and we continue to build on this. I think that it's very efficient, very easy for people to send a donation of $1, $5, $10, $1,000 by PayPal, and that reaches our bank account, and then we can send the funds over to Nepal, where they're very, very efficiently used. Nepal has been a place I visited since 2010, when I first decided to go trekking there. And I just fell in love with the country. The people are remarkable, they're lovely, calm people. They have a way about them that is just so gentle, and the country itself is interesting. It's a fascinating place. It's certainly one of the most beautiful places on the planet. In fact, much of Nepal wasn't touched by this earthquake. So I will be going back in October to trek one of the undamaged areas, and I'd encourage everybody that watches this little video to book a trip to Nepal and trek or visit the jungles, or go and see what monuments are left. There was a lot that was destroyed, but there's a lot still standing. So I would have to say that Nepal is just one of those places that's a must-see before you decide to stop traveling. Well, what does a donor get out of a project? First of all, they get the satisfaction of giving. In this particular case, they can be assured that they're giving to a charity that has no administrative expenses whatsoever, except the minor bank fees used to transfer money around. Nobody's getting any money other than the villagers, which is also good because you don't want to see a huge amount of money going anywhere else but to the charity itself. If you donate $200 or more, you get to name a building after you with a plaque, and you get some evidence of that in the term of a photograph with a villager whose house you have just helped build. We've actually had several large donations, but people don't want to have any association with the naming at all, thinking it's a bit of an ego trip. But I think it's a really cute thing to do, and I've had a couple of families who are sending their children to Nepal in October to go see their houses, and of course to help in the village. You get the satisfaction of creating something that is really meaningful. There's nothing more basic, I think, after food and oxygen than a place to live. When you don't have a place to live, having one is probably the most important thing in your existence. And here you are being able to provide for a modest sum a place that a villager can call a home, albeit modest, but temporary, but still a home and a shelter. And that means a huge amount to these people who have lost everything. My friends in Nepal are a gentleman called Birendra Chudal and Ramesh Watsi. I think Birendra, because he's associated with the trekking business, he owns a trekking company, and he knows these villages intimately, that he felt that most of the relief was going to go into the cities, to the larger number of people. There were plenty of organizations doing that, and who was going to look after these villages that are at the end of the totem pole, so to speak? They're down the food chain. So with Ramesh, who comes from this village, they just came up with this idea and asked me if I would help. And I was looking for, obviously we were discussing how to help, and I thought this was a really, really good idea. So I came up with the name Himalaya House Project and set up the if you like, the infrastructure of the charity in the United States, so we could actually accept money and transmit it. And I've been working with Birendra very closely on all aspects of the building and construction. I'm in the media business. I've been in the media business for now 31 years, and I make educational films which educate and instruct mostly children about the way the world works. This experience in Nepal has been probably the most remarkable learning experience I've ever been through. I've been in the LA earthquake in '94, which was disturbing, but it wasn't anything like this. It's a bit like knocking a cup of water off a shelf and then destroying the entire kitchen, as an analogy. Nepal was devastated. I'm a giver. All the people who've given are givers, and I'd encourage anybody who's watching this video to give too. That's, I guess, this ties into so many things about my life: travel, giving, helping, instructing, learning, teaching. And I'm proud that we put this together in such a short time, and I want to thank everybody who's donated to date any amount, because it's gone to a really, really wonderful cause. And hopefully we can keep on doing this, because We've only got 499,950 homes to go. That's a lot. Please help.